You talked about that you do all outbound marketing. How do you find your prospects? I mean,
I
what's the strategy and process around that? The people that you're calling into.
Sure. I actually have two people on staff that their only job
Hmm.
is to
Is
develop
the
leads.
research.
So they
Yeah.
will pull up flood maps and they'll pull up property
Hmm.
appraisers and basically just start in an area and just work their way down. Who
Love
owns
it.
this building? Who owns this building? Who owns this building?
Hmm.
And then taking those contacts and sort of spider webbing it out. Who's the
Okay.
insurance agent for this one? Who's the lender for this one?
Hmm.
This guy owns this one building, but their company owns 30 different properties across the country.
Hmm.
Um, so it's been the research team that we have, and then just spider webbing contacts outside of that.
Hmm. So, this guy owns this building, but the company owns 30 buildings. Who are you calling into?
Typically, we're calling into whoever owns it, right? Whoever has the money behind it, because that's
Okay.
where the real impact is. It's not the person operating it. It's not the person managing it. It's
Hmm.
the person who financially is looking at that net operating income, that NOI. How
Right.
much how much is this property cash flowing for us on a year? That's the person that we're selling
Hmm.
to, because that's the number that we can change and make
Hmm.
it to where we can increase it, which increases obviously the market value and
Hmm.
things like that. But we're selling to the person that
Hmm.
truly owns the property.
Right. Do you have any difficulty getting to that person?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay. Let's talk
Gatekeepers,
about
and
that.
especially when you're
Yeah.
selling something that one, nobody knows about.
Right.
It
So
sounds
there's
too
some
good to be
evangelizing,
true,
right? Mhm.
and that word insurance pops up. And they're like, "Oh, they're
Yeah,
selling
right.
insurance." It's like, "No, we're not. We're an engineering firm. We just
Right.
happen to be in the market where there's insurance as
Yeah.
well." So it is
Mhm.
a difficult process sometimes to get to that decision maker. But I have an amazing team that is they're so good at what they do, and they've
Yeah.
developed a lot of ways to get through it and talk to the right people.
Right. And it's all about your approach, right? Um, the minute we're so and I talk about this seems like on every podcast because it always comes up. We are so perpetually spammed
Yes.
these days. Emails and LinkedIn and even phone calls, but primarily via, the written message, the written word.
Yep.
And how do you do outbound marketing in a way that you can actually get people on the phone and they will listen to you?
Yeah. The only thing that's
It's
had
hard.
long term success for us has been picking up the phone and
That's
just
right.
being persistent. It may take 8 phone
Yep.
calls, but
Hmm.
we've had no success with the written word, with placing an ad here or anything like that. It's picking up the phone, talking to people until they actually hear what we're saying
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
are willing to give us a shot.
Brad, are there any kind of like conferences or things like that where you can get out and speak at where people will actually say, "Wow, this is something we need to look at."
Yeah, I've actually I spoke at the National Apartment Association conference
Okay.
in 2019. Um,
Hmm.
and that's typically where we end up speaking is
Got it.
um, that or investor uh,
Hmm.
conferences.
Right. Real estate investment things. Yeah, sure.
Right.
That would
So
make sense.
DJ, my sales director, he just spoke last weekend at a conference that was it was the multifamily something, but basically it
Hmm.
was a group of 250 people who invest in apartment complexes or looking to or getting educated so that
Right.
they can. And those are
Hmm.
the people, again, that's that bottom line person. It's that
Hmm.
owner. So
Yeah.
talking to the investor side is the other spot that we've been able to get in with,
Hmm.
conferences and things like that and speak.
Yeah, that's really smart. Have you done the analytics on what you're spending to be at those places versus, your ROI and then, getting customers?
We do. I don't have them in front of me, but
Okay.
our best return is on that type of is
Yeah.
being in the room with the
Yep.
money, being in the room with the
Yep.
investors. It may take
Good.
6 months or a year to pan out because if you only own 3 properties, they may not be in a flood zone. Then all of a sudden, that fifth one
Right.
you acquire, oh, who are those
Mhm.
guys? So sometimes it
Mhm.
can take time to get to the end of it, but we do, even if it costs us $10,000-$20,000 to be a part of that and to have, it doesn't take a lot for us to get that return back very quickly with how much we're able to
Yeah,
save
I
people.
imagine. Yeah, that's really great. I'm really glad to hear that, that's one of the avenues that you're
It's the only one that
exploring
works
because
for us. It is the only marketing
right.
avenue that works for us, is getting out in
Hmm.
front of people.
Hmm. And I think it's, and I have to imagine that once you've, gotten a client, they can then of course they're going to refer you to their buddy who's also in the business, right?
There is a little bit of that.
Um,
Not as much as you'd
a
think,
little bit of that.
but there is
Really?
definitely, you know what? Hey, I'm a
Hmm.
part of this group. There's 10 of us that meet and talk. You need to tell them about it too.
Hmm.
But there's not as
Yeah,
much of the,
interesting.
hey, call
Hmm.
Debbie. She owns
Is
this
the
place. That doesn't happen as much as I would hope.
okay. Is the bulk of your business coming from, the multifamily, the commercial side rather than the residential side?
Currently, it is. Yeah, we're about
Yeah.
90% commercial,
Okay.
with a high volume. Probably 60% of that is multifamily. We are
Okay.
starting to move a little bit more in the residential side. It's going to change how we have to really build a team. It's tougher to do outbound marketing to
Mhm.
residential. You
Mhm.
we're trying to become the doctors, and they know they have an issue, so they call us. So we
I
have
love
to
that.
create that whole scenario, which is hard and it's going to take some work, but we're going to move
Mhm.
into residential over
Mhm.
2022 and 2023, just because the volume of people that we can help it's staggering.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting. I love that you're using the analogy doctor. When I started in my business almost 30 years ago, that was one of the first things that I learned as I was learning my business is, you're the doctor.
Yeah.
Tell people you need to tell people what to do. They will listen.
Yeah, I
Right.
picked that up
Although,
somewhere in some book I read, and it
yeah.
was like, that makes sense.
Yeah, of course it does. That's so great. Carol Schultz here. Thanks for watching this excerpt from Authentically Successful. The conversation doesn't end there. So if you want to hear this episode in full and all my conversations with many other successful founders and CEOs, please visit verticalelevation.com/podcast.